Okay, we are ready to look at our next part, and I'm going to switch my screen over here. We're going to be looking at the latch plate. Now, the approach to the latch plate here is to notice that we have a line of symmetry or a center line that we are going to mirror the top to the bottom. Additionally, you're going to notice that when we show these vertical dimensions, they're only distances between, and they are going to be symmetrical about that center line. So we are not going to be adding vertical dimensions in for some of these, okay? And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. We're going to actually add those in after the mirror. So we're going to start this by simply creating the profile going around, okay? Then we're going to add our radius, our fillet. Then the center of that fillet is going to set up our hole. Then we're going to put in our next hole over here in line with it. We're going to line those up so that they're vertical here. We're going to add in, dimensions that we know here. Then we're going to go to the inside here where we're going to create this radius, the larger radius. And then kind of by, checking our dimensions, our horizontal dimensions and such, that we're going to be able to then mirror the top. And then we're going to add in these vertical dimensions afterwards. Now, you're going to notice that we do need to know what these lengths are. Those are going to be reference dimensions. The L1 and the L2 are like answering the problem questions. So you're going to have to make sure you put those in as references at the end. So let's get started here. I'm going to say that this one isn't quite as easy as you think. It might take a little bit, and that's why I have this demo out here to if you're struggling a little bit, feel free to look. So first things first, we want to select our working directory, check it on the top here. I had mine set up before I got in here. And then also make sure under options that your sketcher is set at 3 decimal places, and mine is. Then I'm going to start a new file, part solid, and then I'm going to call this the latch underscore plate. I think it's like the 4th one I've done here now. And we are going to pick our sketching plane. Now we're going to go in underneath extrude so we can set this, or we can save this as a part file that we can pull up and change if we need to. That is important if you in fact have any changes to make and want to resubmit. Okay, so make sure you go in underneath extrude and not sketch. And then we're going to select that front plane. It's front right here, and now we can hit sketch. All right, now we are ready to get started. So in that fashion that I had talked about earlier, we're going to start by putting kind of portions of the profile here. I'm actually going to start, I'm going to start with my center line first. I want to put that in place because that is the center line of my mirror. Now I'm going to start with my line. And I'm going to start here and go perpendicular or, to that line. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go over, create a angled surface. No, I don't want to be in line. Remember, independent lines, and then down to that center line. And that's where I'm going to stop right now. Now, to get the sizing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add the radius on the corner here. And the reason for that is that, believe it or not, as we look at this, that is the same center as this hole. And then the distance between these holes and the width of this hole set the size of the part. Notice we don't have an outside dimension here. It's dependent on the centers of these holes. So don't add an outside dimension. We have to work with these centers, and that center comes from the concentric relationship that we're going to have with that radius. So we're going to put that radius in first, and that's one of the kind of the tricks or the keys to this particular problem. So I am going to add in a fillet on that corner. I'm going to select, and it's going to put a random size in there. I'm going to middle mouse button or hit escape to end that command. And then I'm going to double click on that radius. And that radius needs to be 0.563. Enter. Okay. Now you'll see that our dimensions kind of came down into like a normal scale, if you would. So I am going to hit escape, make sure I'm not in anything, move this dimension out. And now I'm going to add in the hole right here. So I'm going to add that circle on that same center. And I'm going to put it as a size here. This radius, I'm going to double click on this not radius, diameter is 0.5, enter. And I'm going to move that to be kind of up here. Okay, now notice that there's this circle within a circle. That means that it's constrained concentric to the same center as this radius. Okay. Now I'm going to put my next hole in. So I am going to go back up to the circle command, activate that center, go horizontal. I'm going to go right here, click. And then when I get to be equal, I'm going to click again. Okay. So now those are of equal size and I need to set their dimension apart. Center, go up top. And that needs to be, oh yeah, 3.5. I was going to say, there we go, 3.5. Now, another thing you're going to notice about this geometry is that this corner right here is vertical in line with that second hole. So let's go back over here. And we are going to set a vertical constraint. So we're going to click vertical first. We're going to click on that end point, not the line, but the end point. And then the center of my circle. And now those are in alignment with each other. Okay. Now we're going to grab and we're going to put the 15 degrees over here. It dimensioned it as this. It's a weak dimension. So we can add in our 15 degrees. So I'm going to hit escape to get off of that vertical constraint. Make sure there's nothing here. And now I'm going to hit my dimension, left click, and then you're going to middle mouse button in the middle of where we want this to go. And that's going to be 15. Okay. Then the other dimension, the other angle, this is in the right spot. This needs to be 135, enter. Okay. All right. Now we do have an overall length here, which we do have on our part, and we're going to double click that. And that's going to be 6.313. Okay. All right. So it's kind of shaping up here. I'm going to move this. I'm going to escape and then select and move this up out of the way. And then move this one so we can see it a little bit better like that. All right. Okay. So I'm going to shift, middle mouse button, get this in the middle. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do, let's go back and see where we're at. So we've kind of got this outside here. We're not going to worry about these vertical dimensions. Again, we're going to add those in after our mirror. So there's going to be some weak dimensions for a little while until we kind of get to the end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in this vertical and horizontal line right here. Okay. So I'm going to go line. I'm just going to go a distance apart here, vertical. And I don't want it to be in line with this one. I'm just going to make it independent here. Okay. And then over. I don't want these to be equal in any way, shape, or form. There we go. Independent, just a horizontal line. Okay. And now this distance between the 0.887, I need to change to 0.935. Okay. 935. And then I'm going to add a fillet here between here and here. And escape or middle mouse button, double click and 0.25, enter. Okay. All right. Now I'm not gonna set this height right here. I'm not gonna set this height, but what I am gonna do is I'm going to do my circle command and I'm gonna be adding in this radius right here, this diameter. So it's a radius of 0.438. So we need to multiply that by 2 to get its diameter because that's what I'm going to be putting it in as. So 0.438 times 2 is 0.876. So I'm going to do diameter and I want it to be in line with this. So I'm going to activate this. I'm going to go over a little bit and I'm going to say, I'm going to go click and then I'm going to create a radius not equal. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and then middle mouse button. And now I'm going to double click on this to be 0.876 for that diameter. Okay, I'll change it to a radius a little bit later. Actually, I can do that now. If I left click on it, go to the radius, and it's the radius I want. Okay. Now, we want to have this point right here overlap so that we can go over, okay? And then we're going to delete that segment that's overlapping, all right? Okay. And now these are tied together so that if this goes, oops, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. So that if I move the center of the circle, it goes up and down with that line. We want those in line with one another. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of leave that there. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is we need to add in that larger radius, the 2.094. The center of this large radius is in line with the center of that small radius. Okay. So I'll show you how we're going to construct it. We're actually going to, I'm going to shift, pan over, and I'm going to select a large circle over here. Make sure you're not in line with anything, okay? Independent circle over here. Middle mouse button, double click here, and we need to change that diameter to 2 times 0.094. Okay, so 4.188. There we go. Okay, there's my circle. Now, right now it's dimensioning it from that origin, but it's still free to move because it's weak dimensions. So I'm going to grab this center, left click, drag, 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 drag. So it's nice and close. Okay, not perfect, but nice and close. Doing this gives Creo fewer decisions to make. So it's a good idea to kind of get your geometry where you need it to be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a vertical constraint so that the center of this and the center of this are in line vertically. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my tangent constraint, and I'm going to make the larger hole to the smaller hole, or the circles, tangent to one another. Okay. Now I'm going to escape so that my tangent isn't there. I'm back on select. I'm going to grab this endpoint. Come on, I'm going to grab the endpoint. Okay. And I'm going to overlap it, and I'm going to make it, it needs to be lower than that other one right there. Okay. So that this one is higher than this one. And now I can delete segment with that overlap. Then I can delete segment. Oh, shoots. I went over the top here. Don't forget there's a little one in here if you have that, and then delete that one. Okay. And then I'm going to delete this one. And now I'm just left with that radius there. Okay. So I'm going to hit escape, and then I'm going to grab the rest of that and then just hit the delete key to get rid of it. Now you'll notice that my diameter of 4.188 is here, and I need it to be a radius. So I'm going to click on it, left click, toggle it to the radius, and now it's got the 2.94. And then I'm just going to move it so it's closer here. This here. I can delete my segment for this inside portion, and now that is all set too. Okay. Oopsie. Oh. What am I on here? There we go. Dimension, that's what I want. Okay. All right. Now at this point, we need to now add a couple of distances to kind of, get our horizontal dimensions. Don't worry about our vertical ones right now. So we need to add a dimension from this endpoint to this endpoint. And why do I feel like I put that in and it's gone? 1.625. We're putting that one back in if we are. And then the next one that we're going to do is going to be from this center to the end. That one needs to be 3.1, enter. There we go. Okay. Now, don't worry about this one or that one. If you have these, that's totally fine. The last one that we need to put in is this width right here. I don't know, sometimes dimensions disappear for some reason. And I'm going to put it right here. And this needs to be 0.935, enter. Okay. Okay. So then I got rid of that other one. So where we sit right now, we are ready for our mirror. We are not going to add these verticals here from the center line or there, because we're going to do those after the mirror. Okay. And you'll see why in just a bit. So to do the mirror command, it's not active yet until I select my entities that I want to mirror. So I'm going to first put a box around. I'm going to left click, whoopsie. I have to hit escape to get out of my dimension command and be on select. And now I'm going to left click, hold, and then release when I get to the other side. Now I have all of this selected, and I'm going to do the mirror command. And now I have it selected. I'm going to select the center line, and there we are. Okay. Now, when you do this, and you can just left click to get that unselected underneath there. Notice that I have pink all in this inside area. That's the goal. Okay. That means that your geometry is good, and it's highlighting the things that are, solid as it sees it. Okay. Another thing, notice that I didn't close this up before I did my mirror. It has to be open, because then these lines, even though this was a short line to the center line, when it mirrors it, it recognizes that, and it makes it a continuous line. These are continuous lines here. I'm just hovering over the top. They're not two line segments. All right, now I need to add those vertical dimensions that we talked about. So if we go back, the ones that I need to add are going to be the width here, okay, of that cutout, the 3 inches between the centers of the holes vertically, and then the 1.655. Those are the only 3 we're going to add. So I'm going to go to my dimension. I'm going to do my 3-inch first between the 2 centers, middle mouse button out here, 3 inches, 3, enter. And then we're going to do from here to here, middle mouse button, and that is 1.238. 1.238, enter. Okay. And then we're going to go from here to here, middle mouse button, and that is going to be 1.655, enter. And voila, we don't have any weak dimensions. Look at that. So these 3 vertical dimensions go in afterwards, okay? Now, let me just this is where you're going to hit escape. Don't be in the dimension. And then you're going to move things around so that we can just make sure that we can see everything, okay? And that we don't have things crossing over. So it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I'm going to scooch this one maybe a little bit closer. This one a little closer. And I think we've got everything in place. No weak dimensions. Do not hand in with any weak dimensions. Otherwise, points are going to come off. And if you do it in this fashion, it'll come out perfectly for you. Now, we aren't done yet. We've got some things to do. So we need to add some reference dimensions. Okay. So they want us to know what the length of this line is here and what the length of this line is here. We have to put those in as reference. So we're going to go up to our dimension reference, and we're going to click on that line, and we're going to middle mouse button out. There it is. And then we're going to click on this line, middle mouse button up, and there it is. Okay. And those are the 2, L1 and L2, that they want to know what is the length after you get everything in place. Okay. Now we are ready to do our screen snip. So at this point, you would do the screen snip of our sketch. Okay. And so you would do your Windows Shift S, you would do your screen snip, however you do it, whether you save it as a file, or if you then get it on your clipboard and you pull it into a document. Either way, you can do this, but it's just going to be the screen snips, not the file itself. Now, to be able to save, don't save here. We're going to hit OK, and then it's going to remember, oh yeah, you wanted to extrude. So what we're going to do is we're going to tip this. We're going to take our middle mouse button, hold it, and then kind of go down a little bit. And we're going to change this depth to 0.25, enter. And just make it a thin, 1/4 inch thick, like plate, if you would. And that looks good to me. That looks good. We're going to hit OK. Now we're going to save. Okay, now we're going to save. So we're going to go to File, Save, and you're going to notice it now becomes that latch plate part. Okay. So the PRT we have to have here, we don't get that until we add depth, until we put in that extrude value for the depth and put 1/4 inch, and then do one more save, file, save. And then now it saves it one more time. This is our final. Okay. Now let's say you hand in your screen snip and there was something to correct. Okay. You're going to pull this up. You're going to use the file open command. You're going to pull up your latch plate, and then you're going to go in here. You're going to see your file tree here. And in this file tree, when you expand it, here's your sketch. Okay. If I click on that and I go up to this little ball, edit dimension, and only click once on it, don't click a couple times, edit dimension. Now I go back to my sketch and I can make my changes. Okay. And the only way we can do that is if we save it as a part file. That's why that's so important. I'm just going to hit a cancel. Yes. And now I'm here. So, so again, file save one last time. It's in place here. And now I can go to File, Manage Files, delete old versions. Yes. And I have to do that before I close. And then I'm going to do a close file. And before I exit or I start anything new, I want to manage my session, erase not displayed, get rid of all of these things, and hit OK. Now I can either start anew or I can exit. Okay, well, there you go. There's the latch plate. If you have any other questions on it, hopefully this was helpful. Just let me know.